We're going to try a bit of a video blog series here. If you don't know me, I'm Rob MacLennan. I'm the track handicapper at Assiniboia Downs. Trying to do a little bit of a talk about some of the racing. We're going to talk a little bit about some local stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of Aqueduct, in terms of the Players Syndicate group that the Downs runs, and then for the people that probably aren't watching from Winnipeg, we're going to talk about some national racing scene stuff. We're going to talk about some stuff that more on a national scale and on an international scale. Just going to try this out and see how it goes. We're going to kick off, obviously, looking at Saturday's card, December the 14th. Going to talk a little bit about Fairgrounds. It is Louisiana Champions Day. Nice card, 13 races. I believe 11 of them are stakes. I have to double check me on that. We're talking about the 3 stakes at Hollywood, the Cash Golf Futurity, the last one, unless it moves to Los Alamitos. Also got the native dancer handicap going a mile in the 8th. And Setsuko comes back off a 1.5-year layoff for Dick Mandela. So I think that Setsuko is probably going to run second or third. But we'll talk about that later. Obviously, Aqueduct, looking forward to the Players Syndicate at ASD. But also just going to talk about a couple of little opinions I have there. And then we'll mention a couple of local horses that I've been running. There's a horse at Turf Paradise you probably want to watch if you're a Rob Actors fan, if you're an ASD fan. Looking for some big-time improvement. Deep dive one today at Hawthorne. I was quite impressed. Murray Duncan getting back off the shelf after the sudden death, tragic death of Pleasant Closing last month. It was a very nasty breakdown. So deep dive, nice rallying win today at Hawthorne, and that was a good sign for him. So looking over to Fairgrounds, I flipped through Woodbine, I flipped through Gulfstream. Woodbine's coming to an end, and it's just an absolute nightmare, headache. Seems like everything seems to be a tough race. Gulfstream, I just don't have a good feel for Gulfstream tomorrow. I didn't really like anything. Zakov today, I just wanted to mention Zakov earlier today, was absolutely phenomenal. Even though he didn't win by open lengths, and they had to ask him a little bit. First time off a long layoff. He probably ran a really nice number. That was a quick time in a track that was just starting to get rained on, which can do some weird things to it. But looking at Fairgrounds, the first 3 races are all quarter horses. In no particular order, the Louisiana Champions Derby, kind of like Dash and Gauge. No particular reason. I'm not really a quarter horse guy, so I'm not going to really expand on that. Though I think coming in from Lone Star, he runs some good speed figures. You get 8-1 in the second race, the Juvenile on First Prize Jet, who actually beat the other 2 favorites in the last spot. I know he was 35-1 that day, but maybe he can do it again. He looks like the added distance is going to help him, if that helps any of you. And the Louisiana Champions Day Classic, grade 200 grand. Again, I'm not a quarter horse guy. I'm not by any means saying I am. But Lemos Chingono, the 10 horse, another Kenneth Roberts trainee at Fairgrounds. Going to take a shot with him. Ran 3rd last time in a grade 3 at Evangeline. Thinking that he has a good shot. I like outside posting horses just from what I do know. That also leads me just to mention I like Riley's Boy tomorrow in the Champion of Champions. $750K at Los Alamitos. I know it goes late at night for all of you, but it's going to be worth watching. Saturday and Sunday at Los Alamitos. They're going to be 2 very good races. The $750 Champion of Champions is Saturday, and then the $2 million Futurity is on Sunday. I'd like 5-bar Cartel in there, both out of the 10 hole for probably obvious reasons. The 4th at Fairgrounds is the Louisiana Lassie. All woman is going to be your favorite, but Mike Henry's 3 for 34. This horse won the Louisiana Jewel at Delta, but she kind of just had a perfect trip at Delta, sitting right behind the dueling speed. Drew off, does get Rosie, and Rosie seems to get way overbet at Fairgrounds. As talented as a rider she is, it is a bit of a tougher meet than some, I guess, probably give it credit for. I'm just going to take a little bit of a shot on Hayton's Royal Rouge. Hayton's Royal Rouge. There we go. Robert Schultz, lots of early speed for this one, coming from Delta as well. Got caught last time, but the rider last time really sent this horse. And I don't think he's going to have to as much today. The 3-horse takes the blinkers off. There's not a lot of other speed in here. And if this filly can get out and go, she's going to be a $12 horse. So that's kind of a horse I want to take a look at in the Louisiana Lassie. $100,000 Louisiana Turf is the 5th. They lost String King. So I kind of just went to Hud's Rebellion thinking he's probably going to be the best. There's not a lot of speed in this race, so it could be ripe for an upset. But the 2 horses that do look like they can show some speed just look like they're kind of cheaper, and that's kind of an issue with me. But I know that the DRF guy, Marcus Hirsch, Fairgrounds always keeps saying that when the rail is out and when they get loose on the lead at Fairgrounds on the grass, they seem to keep going. I don't watch a ton of Fairgrounds. I'm more of a West Coast guy. but that kind of makes some logical sense. The 6th is a maiden special, 40 grand. Lots of first-time starters that are just probably in it because the purse is nice. It's a Louisiana-bred maiden special. It is Louisiana Downs Day, or sorry, Louisiana Champions Day at Fairgrounds, and it's one of those days where you want to run your 2-year-olds, you want to run your Louisiana breds. The owners like it, but I kind of like Cajun Magician for John Good. Ran 3rd at Arlington in September, had some time off. Showed some early speed that day. Now we're going to try on the dirt with some really nice dirt breeding with Posse. You get to hair on the bottom, a $55,000 yearling. Second time out now, looking for some speed, and he does get a better post than the 2 other horses I like coming out of the 5-hole. The Tom Amos first-time starter could be anything. Some decent works. I decided to kind of ignore him and just kind of hope and pray that he runs a not winning race. You also get 4 Infinity on the 11 horse. I think he's going to be a better price of the 2 first-time starters, and I think Brett Calhoun's just as adept at winning with a first-time starter as Tom Amos. Had some success earlier in the year with a couple of fillies of Calhoun's that ran pretty well first time out. And then the obvious favorite is Vickers in Trouble for the Ramses, the powerful racing entity for Mike Maker. Ran 3rd at Keeneland in a maiden special. So that's definitely going to be the other one. But that's the 12-hole, and it's Rosie again, and you're going to get 7-5 on a horse that really should be 3-1. So make your own decision on that one. The Louisiana Ladies Sprint is the 7th. I think sitting at the bar, I think you throw out the Raven Run. It's a grade 2. It's a really tough spot. Now she gets back in against her own Louisiana bred types. Guadalupe High kind of had a perfect trip last time. Foreign girl, she hasn't really beat this quality, so I ended up sitting at the bar, but I have no strong opinion on that one. The Louisiana Ladies was a race that I ended up going with Sweet Talkin' Hottie. I try to bet older horses against 3-year-olds, though it is late in the year and the 3-year-olds are growing up. But the Sweet Talkin' Hottie, she's been improving. She came off the layoff last time. She won by a nose in an optional race at Fairgrounds. I think she's going to get a good stalking trip. There's tons of speed in this spot. There's tons of horses that want to be in front. Little Miss Protocol obviously is going to be your favorite. She's going to be probably the horse to beat in stalking. But if ever the race sets up, I like James Graham. I think he's a good rider. Second time off the layoff. She ran well, 2 back off the layoff in June at Louisiana. So Sweet Talkin' Hottie, I think you're going to get $15 on her. Definitely a have in the pick 4. Definitely a horse that I'm going to take a look at playing. And definitely with the 60-cent tri-actors at Fairgrounds, you can get some prices. The Louisiana Juvenile, here's another one where you got a horse that won at Delta who had a perfect trip out on the front end. It's hard to close at Delta. I always thought I didn't think horses that came from dead last could ever win at Delta, and it's kind of true for all bull rings. So Idle Be Cool, the 3 horse, is going to be your heavy favorite, but I'd like to try to beat him. Obviously, you got to use Broberg, the 6, Randy Paul, lots of early speed there. And again, I'm using the Calhoun horse with Rosie, nonetheless, who had a bad trip first time out and still managed to win. And the last time was kind of bounced around. I watched the race. I went back and watched it, and she was kind of in between. And it's one of those races where the horse looks like it wants to go on and then gets kind of jostled, but doesn't quite get back out of it to say check, but it's more intimidated. And for 2-year-olds, that can also do a lot. So I think that the outside post will be good with this horse, and he'll just sit just off it. And again, you're going to get a decent price, I'm hoping. The Louisiana Classic, obviously, String King, who's trying the dirt, going back to it. He has a couple of wins earlier in his career, but he's been a turf horse mainly, and he's done some incredible running down there. Sunbeam, the obvious logical other one. But I kind of like Skip the Pinot, the 1 horse, Andrew Leggio, kind of from the Happy Ticket fame. That's a long time ago, 2005. At the Breeders' Cup, she was the hot horse in the distaff. Louisiana Classic, 150 grand. And this horse is going to be in front when they turn for home. How can you argue with that? You're going to be in front, and even though it's a long, tiring stretch and that camera really deceives you, last time out at Delta, this horse just didn't make the lead. But when this horse gets loose, he gets brave, and that's what I'm crossing my fingers for at probably $25. The Louisiana Sprint misses Gantry, the Louisiana bred champion. So I just kind of went to Tallahatchie Luke. I think that cutting back, he's going to be really tough. He ran some really good races at Louisiana, so I think he's going to get the perfect trip where he's tactical enough. You got to be careful with the Broberg horse, but I think he's going to get hooked. I'm hoping he's going to get hooked from the 12-hole. The Louisiana Starter, again, I like kind of an average horse, and the Wolf is back. I think that he's going to get a decent closing trip, and looks. I really liked that Emily Schwant. I'm not that familiar with her, but I think that I like that layoff number, the 40% off, 61 to 180 days. I'm a form guy, so that's the numbers I play with here. So we got the Wolf is back. And in the last, I just had Ben's Juliet circled. Probably going to be an $8 horse, Brad Cox. Lots of early speed at Churchill. Now goes to Fairgrounds. Drops into State Breds from Maiden 40 at Churchill, which is definitely going to be tougher. And I didn't think there was that much in here. I probably won't actually get the 7-2 morning line. The other horse, the Sweet Alice Benbow, I think has had a couple of opportunities. And now this is going to get tougher for her, and that's not a great sign. So that's the Fairgrounds card. I think it's an interesting one. Those breed days are always a little tricky. You always get a couple of horses that are just going to be out there, and it just is what it is. So try to find those two. I think I have a couple that I was shot. Obviously, everybody's looking forward to String King. And then moving forward into the Hollywood card, I'm just going to talk about the 3 stakes. Don't have all day here. We're not going to bore you to tears here, but the third is the Hollywood Turf Cup, the last running more than likely. I'm going to tell you right now that I'm a Richard Mandela fan. And Segway, you know what, this horse was so impressive last time, holding on. But Arctic North did beat him 2 back by a length. But that was his first start off, a year layoff. And Arctic North did have to go all the way to Aqueduct, and that comes all the way to back. Even though Peter Miller is definitely a hot trainer, I'm hoping that Segway can get out to the front end and just kind of slow it down enough that he doesn't get caught by Tamarine and Lucien for Drysdale coming out of the Canadian National and Proctor. Those are going to be your 2 closers coming off the yielding turf at Woodbine. So we'll see what happens there. I like Segway. I think you're going to get $8 or $9 with Mike Smith up. Coming back in the Native Dancer, which is the 7th, I believe. Grade 3, I don't really like Blue Skies and Rainbows. Never really been a fan. Fire with Fire and Slim Shady, I think, are turf horses. Setsuko's going to need one. Mandela came out in the forum and said, you know what, he's going to be fit. Like, I've got a lot into him, but you know what, I really think he's going to need one. Obviously, this isn't the goal with this horse. We're looking at the San Antonio, the Santa Anita Handicap, the Dubai World Cup, something of that magnitude with Setsuko coming off back-to-back finishes in the big cap, running second. The horse I actually end up liking is Drill. Here the Ghost is the other one on the outside, but I think Rousing Sermon's going to be overbet, and I think Sophia is going to be overbet. Drill last time had a bit of an inside trip against a bias a little bit, and I think he's better on the poly. He just hasn't gone far enough, and I think he wants to go the distance. Like, the distance he's never really tried. He's always been such a nice sprinter, but I think that stretching out, he might be able to be a nice horse. So I'm thinking that last time he looked like he wanted to run all day. So we're looking for Drill here in the Native Dancer. That just leaves us with the cash call futurity. There's no speed in this race. Like, this race on paper looks like Shared Belief could go to the front and walk around. Tapper Rich is kind of the other horse you got to talk about. He's a big, lumbering green son of Tappet for Bafford. Mike Smith, he ran actually a not bad race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, running wide and got out, and he's green. And Bruno De Julio's raging about how awful this horse had worked. And you know what, he ran okay, but he was 3-1, and he was probably an overlay. Or underlay, sorry. The other horse I wanted to talk about is Ranka's Privileges, the 12 horse. Remember Ken McPeak did win the Hollywood Starlet last year with Pure Fun, coming from Kentucky. This horse ran in the Delta Jackpot, did run third, and I don't think it was a bad Delta Jackpot. And I think this horse was really compromised by being 5 wider at both turns on the bull ring, not really being able to close. Already has a win over the Synthetic at Keeneland. So if anybody's going to get a big closing run, I think it's this horse, because I'm not that sold on the California types in here. So we're going to look at Tappet Rich, Shared Belief, but also use Rank as Privilege. Just quickly going to skim through the Aqueduct card. The Players Syndicate group does go again tomorrow morning up in the Terrace Dining Room. I know, looking forward to trying to hit a couple of good, after coming off a couple of bad weeks in a row, going back to some of the success we had earlier in the meet. The first race, we're just going to talk about the pick 5. I'm going to skim through it. You get Dance I Can at 6-5, Jacobson on the inner. It's really tough to be like, what do you do with this horse? Bad Buyer, didn't run that great. You go from Castellano to Cohen, you're going to be 2-5 on the board. So I think he's the horse to beat, and you got to use him. But I think, in my own mind, I'm going to use Stonehenge and Perfect Disco. I think Galusio, first time out, is good. They've got good works. They've got steady breeze patterns. And it just bothered me that Galusio puts Montanez on the 5 horse. Not a rider. And he's had some success with Montanez. So I'm looking for that horse a little bit to maybe be able to run a little bit. I know Stonesider could run with the 1 start he did make. So we're going to use those 3 and move on. The second is another race where Jacobson's got the entry and then another one. I'm assuming half of the entry is going to be scratched. I'm not sure which half. If it's sheer or magic, he's going to be way out of it early. And this race was really empty with speed. So I'm looking for What About Honor, the other Jacobson off the claim from Michael Mariana. I think this horse could definitely wire the field. So I'm going to use him. I'm going to use the entry probably because they got it, depending on what happens with them. And I'm going to use Boogie 2 for Asmussen off the claim. I think he's going to get a stalking trip if there is a duel. The third, the maiden special, I thought was an absolute gong show. I wanted to use 4 horses. I wanted to use the 2 McLaughlins, the Pletcher Firster, obviously Indian Charlie. You get nice breathing for Pletcher. And I wanted to use the Mott horse. I think the first time out he ran just a very even race. He was outrun by Havana, who's an absolute monster. Then he tries the turf and he runs a really good race, going 7/8. So he's inside, he attacked horses, he on the lead, and he gets beat 2 1/4. They stretch him out, and I think he bleeds back in November with Velasquez, and now they put him on Lasix. He's had a little bit of time, and I think he can show some speed on the cutback. Mr. Greeley has some speed influence. You get Vindication on the bottom, who's kind of a mile influence in my mind. So at like 16 or 17 to 1, this could be your price in your pick 5. I didn't think that much of the fourth, the maiden 35,000 State Breds. Rudy with the speed on the drop down last time ran second. Going to use him again. I think he's dangerous going wire to wire in a pretty weak spot. And the other one I wanted to use was Little T. Louie. I debated between the 9 and the 10 here, and I went to the 9. Even though this horse broke dead last time, rushed up against maiden special State Breds instead of the 35s, now drops in class. Ran a very similar buyer to the 10. Was going 5.5 furlong, ran against a better race, and looking for an improve after dueling 3 wide. I'm just looking for the horse that maybe can be on the improve here at a bit of a price. And that just leaves the 5th, the race where there's another race with a whole bunch of speed. Holy Invader, Romancing the Gold, Pontus, Modern Child, North Ocean all kind of want to be in front. And North Ocean scares me a little bit, but I'm really just going to use Zevo and Pass the Tap, Jacobson and Chad Brown. Looking for one of them just to close and just be better, I think. So that's how I'm going to end off the pick 5. Good luck with all that. I hope to see you out there tomorrow morning. The Queens County is the feature at Aqueduct. It's a 5-horse field. You get Don Dolce in percussion. You get Pletcher, and Sliver and Onions is kind of an interesting horse for me. But I think it's a hard race to bet with 5 horses, and they're all going to be 5-2, and it doesn't do a whole lot for anybody. Obviously, I'm kind of a Turf Paradise follower. The other horse I want to mention just quickly is Magic Dioro. It goes for the Rob Actress Barn, shipping in from Woodbine. It does go in the 6th race. You're not going to get 7-2 on this horse. This horse has been working up an absolute storm, and that's very untypical for the Actress Barn. Bringing an 82 buyer, 2 starts on the poly, now goes on the turf going a mile. I think this is just a matter of how far this horse wins by. The only other thing to mention at Turf Paradise tomorrow is the City of Phoenix Stakes. I think Jocelyn Paz is going to return back to form. Coming out of a race where she was totally lost all chance of the break in the Zia Distaff. And she obviously likes Turf Paradise. She's 5 for 6 there. This is a really nice mare for the Robertino Diodoro barn. 36% at Turf Paradise. Re-teamed up with Giovanni Franco. The only other one to talk about, I think, is Tribal Gal, who had a really rough trip last time. And I'm thinking he'll turn it around. Hoping he'll turn it around. Page Springs is just speed. Lovemaker probably isn't good enough. Lady Gilia never quite beats these. Ralphie Girl couldn't beat Rocky Up last time. So that just kind of leaves you with Tribal Gal and Jaws and Paws. If those two don't win, it's going to be a huge bomber. I think somebody like Miscommunication or Kind of Naughty or something that's really out the box. So I'm definitely going to look to Jaws and Paws there. You might get a good price with that hidden form a little bit. So that's this segment. I got to come up for a name with this. My video blog. This is series number 1, episode 1. I'm Rob MacLennan, and have a good day and weekend of racing. I'll come back sometime, probably during the week. Kind of done exams now, so looking for things that I can help out with. Looking for some cards that really intrigue me. Might talk Monday or Tuesday. Actually, might put something up just to talk about a couple of the horses at Turf Paradise. It won't be this long. First one, I wanted to have a little bit of an introduction. I'm never going to talk this much, I don't think, again. But thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Enjoy, and good luck and good racing.